My mother stood in my bedroom doorway with her arms crossed. Watching me like I was a squatter, she'd finally worked up the courage to evict. "Start packing," she said, not even bothering with pleasantries or explanations. But what Mom didn't know, what she'd somehow managed to overlook despite 3 years of bank statements and legal documents I'd tried to show her, was that the house she was kicking me out of would be in foreclosure within 6 months without my signature, and I just decided I was done saving people who couldn't see past their own noses. I'm Tessa Morgan, 26 years old, and according to my family, I'm the expendable daughter who never quite measured up. My parents, David and Gloria Morgan, live in a spacious 4-bedroom house in suburban Atlanta that they've owned for 15 years. My older brother Kyle is the golden child who became a corporate lawyer. My younger sister Meredith is the baby who can do no wrong. And me? I'm the middle child who chose a lesser career path as a financial analyst and had the audacity to still be living at home while saving money. The reason Mom was in my room evicting me wasn't because I'd done anything wrong. It was because my cousin Vanessa, Kyle's wife's sister, was going through a divorce and needed somewhere to stay temporarily. "Vanessa needs stability right now," Mom explained, as if I were the family charity case instead of the person who'd been quietly keeping our family financially afloat for 3 years. "She has 2 kids. You're single. It makes sense. Where am I supposed to go? You have a job, Tessa. Get an apartment like a normal 26-year-old. It's time you experienced independent living anyway." Independent living. That was rich, considering I'd been paying most of their mortgage for the past 3 years. Let me back up. When I was 23 and fresh out of college with my finance degree, my parents had fallen on hard times. Dad's small construction business had taken a hit during a slow market, and Mom's retail management salary wasn't enough to cover their expenses. They'd missed 3 mortgage payments and were facing foreclosure. I'd just started my first real job at a financial services firm, making decent money but nothing spectacular. I'd wanted to help, but I didn't have enough saved to just give them tens of thousands of dollars. So I did something that, in retrospect, was probably incredibly stupid. I co-signed when they refinanced their mortgage to avoid foreclosure. The bank required a co-signer with steady income and good credit. Kyle had refused, claiming his law school loans were too high. Meredith was still in college. So it fell to me, the middle child who always tried to fix things. Just for a couple years, Dad had promised. Until we get back on our feet. I'd also co-signed for Kyle's second car when he'd needed his credit score to remain untouched for a house purchase. And I'd co-signed for Meredith's private student loans when my parents couldn't qualify. "You're so good with money," Mom had said each time, like it was a compliment instead of a burden. "We trust you to handle these things." But trust was a funny thing in the Morgan family. It flowed one direction only. Now, standing in my childhood bedroom with Mom looking at me like I was being unreasonable, I realized that all my financial support had bought me exactly 0 goodwill. "When do you need me out?" I asked quietly. "End of the month?" "Vanessa's situation is urgent. 2 weeks." She was giving me 2 weeks to find a place and move out. "Fine," I said. "I'll start looking." The relief on Mom's face was almost insulting. "Thank you for understanding, honey. This is really the Christian thing to do, helping family in need." After she left, I sat on my bed and opened my laptop. I pulled up the mortgage documents I'd signed 3 years ago, the car loan papers, Meredith's student loan agreements. My name was on all of them. As co-signer, I was equally responsible for every payment. If they defaulted, my credit would be destroyed right along with theirs. I thought about how they'd just kicked me out to make room for a cousin-in-law they barely knew, how they'd never once thanked me for keeping their house out of foreclosure, how they'd taken every financial favor for granted. Then I made a phone call to my contact at the bank. I moved out 12 days later into a small but nice apartment in Midtown. 1 bedroom, good neighborhood, 20-minute commute to work. My parents helped me move exactly 0 boxes, claiming they were busy getting the house ready for Vanessa. "I'll stop by my new place that first week." "Nice apartment," he said, looking around. "Must be expensive." "It's manageable. Mom says you were upset about having to move out." "Did she?" "Look, Tessa, I know it sucks, but Vanessa really needs help right now. Her ex-husband is being a nightmare. She needs family support." "I'm family too, Kyle." "Yeah, but you don't have kids. It's different." He checked his phone. "Anyway, I just wanted to make sure you weren't holding a grudge or anything. Family is family, right?" After he left, I looked at my phone. The bank contact had texted me. "Astra's paperwork is ready." Just need your signature to proceed with the investigation and restructuring, asterisk. I stared at that message for a long time before responding. I'll come by tomorrow. 6 months passed. I settled into my apartment, dated a guy from my gym, got promoted at work. I sent polite text messages in the family group chat and showed up for major holidays, playing the role of the agreeable daughter who'd gracefully accepted being displaced. What I didn't do was respond to any requests for financial help. When Meredith asked me to co-sign for a new credit card, I declined. When Dad mentioned they were thinking of refinancing again for a better rate, I changed the subject. Then, on a Tuesday in March, I got a call from Mom. Her voice was tight with panic. "Tessa, we need to talk. Can you come to the house?" "What's wrong?" "Just please come. Now." I drove over, my stomach churning. When I arrived, both parents were at the kitchen table with stacks of papers spread out in front of them. Dad looked like he'd aged 10 years. Mom had been crying. "What happened?" I asked, though I had a pretty good idea. "The bank called," Dad said hoarsely. "They're saying we've missed 4 mortgage payments." "But that's impossible. We've been paying on time." "Have you?" I asked quietly. Mom's face crumpled. There were some unexpected expenses. Vanessa needed help with her legal fees. Meredith's car broke down. Kyle needed money for his daughter's medical bills. "So you stopped paying the mortgage." "We were going to catch up. But the bank is saying they can't work with us without the co-signer's approval. They need you to agree to a refinancing plan, or they're starting foreclosure proceedings in 30 days. There it was. The moment I'd been waiting for. "I see," I said. "So you'll help, right?" Mom looked at me with desperate hope. "You'll sign the papers? You're still on the loan. If we default, it ruins your credit too." I pulled out my phone and showed them an email. "Actually, I've been working with a financial advisor and a lawyer for the past 6 months. We've been documenting every missed payment, every time you've diverted mortgage money to other family members, every instance where you've prioritized everyone else over the financial obligation I helped you secure." Dad's face went white. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying that I've filed a formal complaint with the bank about financial mismanagement and my unwilling involvement in what's essentially fraud. Taking out a loan with a co-signer and then deliberately not paying it while supporting other family members financially." "Tessa, you can't be serious," Mom started. "I'm also saying that I've been in touch with a credit attorney who's helping me separate my liability from yours. It's complicated, but there's legal precedent for co-signers who can prove they were misled about the borrower's intentions." "We didn't mislead you." Dad stood up. "We were going to pay. We just had some setbacks. 4 months of missed payments isn't a setback, Dad. It's a choice. You chose to pay for Vanessa's lawyer, for Meredith's car, for Kyle's bills, all while I was paying my own rent and watching you gamble with my financial future. We're your family," Mom said, her voice breaking. "How can you do this to us? How can I?" I actually laughed. "You kicked me out of my home to make room for someone else. You've taken my financial help for 3 years without a single thank you. You prioritized everyone else's needs over mine, over and over again. And now you want to know how I can do this to you. If you don't help us refinance, we'll lose the house," Dad said. "I know." The silence that followed was devastating. "There has to be something we can do," Mom whispered. "Some way to fix this." I pulled out a folder I'd prepared. "There is. I'll co-sign a new refinancing agreement under the following conditions. First, Vanessa moves out within 30 days and you never, ever give away my space again. Second, you put it in writing that I have no financial obligation to help any other family member. No more co-signing, no more loans, nothing. Third, you set up automatic payments from your account to the bank. I want to see 3 months of on-time payments before I sign anything. And fourth," I paused. "You apologize, genuinely, for taking me for granted." Dad looked at the folder like it was a snake. You're blackmailing us." "No, I'm setting boundaries. Boundaries I should have set 3 years ago." I stood up. "You have 23 days before the bank forecloses. Think about it." It took them 19 days. Vanessa moved out, loudly complaining about being betrayed by family. My parents set up automatic payments and provided proof. Kyle stopped by my apartment to yell at me about tearing the family apart, but I'd expected that. Meredith, surprisingly, called me and said, "I get it. I'm sorry for taking you for granted." She was the only one who'd ever acknowledged my help unprompted, and for that, I forgave her immediately. On day 19, my parents came to my apartment. Mom had written a 2-page letter apologizing for years of dismissing my contributions and making me feel expendable. Dad admitted they'd been using me as a financial safety net while never treating me like I mattered. "We took advantage of your generosity," Mom said, tears streaming. "We're so sorry." I signed the refinancing papers the next day. The house was saved for now. But things are different. I'm not the family bank anymore. When Kyle asked me to co-sign for his wife's business loan, I said no. When Meredith wanted help with grad school costs, I offered advice instead of money. When my parents suggested I move back home, since Vanessa's gone, I politely declined. I have my apartment, my life, my boundaries. I see my family regularly, but on my terms. Sometimes my mom texts me, "I'm grateful for you. It's small, but it matters." Last week, Dad asked me for financial advice about his business. Not money, just advice. We spent 2 hours going over his books, and when we were done, he said, "You're really good at this. I should have listened to you years ago." "Yeah," I said. "You should have." But I smiled when I said it. Because here's what I learned. Being family doesn't mean being a doormat. Love doesn't mean letting people take advantage. And sometimes, the most loving thing you can do is teach people that actions have consequences. Even when those people are your parents. Especially when those people are your parents.